Hi, I'm Sally Lyndley. Welcome to my studio and Stylist Studio Pro. Today I want to talk about the most influential blogs that I recommend that you follow every day or at least once a week on the internet to keep informed about some of the most interesting people and things happening in fashion. So, on to the list. There are three different websites that are doing a certain category of blogging that I am obsessed with. And it's what I am calling a voyeuristic personal style blog, where they're approaching people and wanting to shoot people who are big in the business, iconic in fashion, iconic in pop culture, and who would just have fantastic wardrobes or beauty cabinets or jewelry collections, and they're asking them to shoot just people's own collections of clothes or jewelry or shoes or bags, or talk to them about their makeup routines or skincare routines. And so those three websites that I'm obsessed with are thecoveteur.com, intothegloss.com, which is for beauty, and the Stone Set, which is for jewelry, and that's a brand new one by my friend Jenna Fain. So I think what's interesting about these is they take a total voyeuristic look at people's closets, their wardrobes. They usually do really great interviews with them about their philosophy behind dressing or their personal style, and they do I love the way these websites are set up. I love the way they do their own photography. I think that the references are great. I think the people they're covering are fantastic. And it gives you a good look into what people are actually buying and wearing. And I think that's really important when you look at styling and stylists and what we do, making sure that our work, even when it's on the more fantastical side, is resonating with people and the stuff that we like and we want to shoot that people are actually buying and wearing. So I love Into the Gloss for beauty. Emily Weiss and her team there get great access because of her background. And she came from, the Vogue world where she was an assistant for some of the stylists there. And so she has really great access to some of the best people in beauty and in fashion. And she just does fantastic interviews and fantastic imagery. And I really, really love what Emily is doing. So those are my inspirations for kind of the top three voyeuristic, style blogs that are out there right now. The next on my list are the street style blogs. So there's a couple different types of street style blogs. The first one I'm going to list is Sartorialist, who's Scott Schulman. He was like the first of this whole fashion street vibe thing, taking pictures of people outside of the shows. And I think that he takes beautiful photographs. I think he chooses very chic people to showcase, and I don't know, I think that he's also kind of turned this into a really profitable business, and because he was the first one, he's had a lot of time working on it and perfecting it, and I don't know, I think he does a fantastic job of capturing what's happening on the streets outside the fashion shows from a very sophisticated standpoint, which a lot of bloggers that do street style don't necessarily capture. The next person on my list for street style that I adore is Tommy Tun. And I feel like he's the one who really took the street style thing to a crazy level with what he shoots for Style.com outside of the shows. And, he's with an incredible agent, with Inez and Vanood's agent at Collective Shift. And he's done some really cool advertising and commercial collaborations that I was impressed by, and no other street style photographer is really doing that. I love his blog, Jack and Jill. I'll put it below. I think it's actually better curated than the Style.com work, just because there's more of it, and you really get a good glimpse of what the coolest people in fashion are wearing right now from Tommy Tun's Jack and Jill blog. So definitely check that out. The next on my list for the whole street style world is Garance Doré, and she takes a very personal standpoint to this. I feel like it's a little bit older, it's a little bit more mature in a good way, but I love the way that her site is laid out. I love the pictures she takes. I love the women that she chooses to feature. I love how she goes about her content, and I think she gets access to some really cool projects the same time that magazines might get access to them. And yeah, I don't know. I think Garance does a fantastic job of curating her site and showing the more chic, sophisticated side, like her boyfriend, the sartorialist, Scott Schulman. I feel like they definitely work hand in hand with their work being on the more sophisticated, luxurious side of fashion. And I think just keeping up with them and what they're interested in is a really good kind of news content feed for you to keep up with. And I love her style of photography. I mean, I think that she and Scott have been very influential on photography in general, just because of the style of beautiful natural lighting that they shoot, and their aesthetic has become something of a trend inside of fashion photography in general. There's a couple other people that I want to highlight that are not necessarily on the street style side, but they're more on the personal fashion side. And that is Susie Lau, who does the Style Bubble. I love Susie Lau. She is like the nicest, funnest person. I've sat next to her at fashion shows. And the thing I like about her is she really makes it a point to showcase and feature brands and stores that you may not know about. She's a huge champion of new designers and new stores, and she does amazing like vintage shopping pieces. And I don't know, she just does cool collaborations too. You got to keep up with Susie Lau if you care anything about young designers and featuring new designers and knowing about new talent up and coming in fashion. And then there's the Man Repeller. So Leandra Medine, I think that's how you say her name. She is interesting to me. She's like the Woody Allen of the kind of upper West East Side, Jewish girls who work in fashion. She is hilarious. I love the commentary on her site. I love her personal take on fashion, the conversation she's having about fashion and pop culture. I love her fashion. I love her personal style pieces. I just think she's fantastic. And obviously, fashion does too, because she's at a lot of the biggest fashion shows, and Marc Jacobs streamed his show through her site one season. So she's definitely an influential one you've got to keep up with. And, it's actually a good read for a change. I love that website. And then there's a couple ones that are more like on the businessy side. There's Business of Fashion, which is really great to subscribe to, get the email newsletters. It's free, and they do a lot of coverage of what is being covered in Women's Wear Daily. My thing with them is that they don't get really any new information. It's all the same information you get in Women's Wear Daily, but it's free. So he's just rehashing the news. I think he does get interesting interviews. I think he is working on profiling some of the best people in fashion. So definitely check out Business of Fashion on a weekly basis to get up to date with your fashion news information if you can't afford Women's Wear Daily. And then there's models.com. So models.com is useful because they do ranking of the girls 1 through 50, which their ranking system is a little bit shoddy because it's just the guy who owns it who does the ranking himself. Like, he's not using any sorts of accomplishments or any kind of, it's not like baseball where they are ranking the home runs, or basketball where they're like, okay, he gets this many shots or whatever. It's just basically based on what they think at models.com, which is like, but the thing I like about models.com is they do get a lot of editorial features and magazine features and post full stories and great coverage of everything happening in the fashion business, especially with models. And if you're in a casting or trying to find girls for a story or look for inspiration for girls for a story, models.com is a great place to start and look. They do great new faces features. I just think it's fantastic. So that's my roundup of the most important blogs to check out once a week, just to keep yourself updated. I also think that on top of this list, you need to go through, bookmark this whole list inside of your browser window. You also need to go and bookmark all the magazines that I featured on one of the past posts. Bookmark all those, and between the magazines that I recommended and between these websites, you're pretty much covered in everything you need to know about fashion up to the date. So check it out, and I will see you guys in the next episode of Stylist Studio. Check you later.